on to the next point. The next point is development of resources. Resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life. It was believed that resources are free gifts of nature. As a result, human beings use them indiscriminately, and this has led to the following major problems. So here it has been said that resources are vital for human survival. We, that means the human beings, depend on resources, and we use resources to satisfy our needs. So resources are vital for human survival, and resources also helps in maintaining the quality of life. The quality of life that we are having now in the 21st century is different from the quality of life human beings led in 20th or 19th century or before that. This development in the quality of life is because of development of resources. Resources help in maintaining the quality of life. Previously, there was nothing called air conditioners or refrigerators. Now, we can easily beat the heat using air conditioners, or we can store food or anything using refrigerators for a longer period of time, isn't it? Now, why and how these things have happened? This has happened only because of development of technology or development of resources. Resources have been developed in order to meet our growing demands, needs, in order to increase the standard of living or the quality of life. So, resources are vital for human survival. As a result, human beings used them indiscriminately, and this has led to the following major problems. Since resources are needed by us, we have used them indiscriminately without thinking about their consequences. Okay, now we have always considered, or previously people used to consider resources as free gifts of nature, and resources are needed by us, is very vital for human survival. So people have used it indiscriminately or excessively, and due to this overuse, a lot of problems, major problems have occurred, and we will discuss all those problems one by one. So it has been said that since resources used to be considered as free gifts of nature, human beings use them indiscriminately or excessively without thinking about the consequences, and that led to major problems. The problems we will discuss one by one. See, the first problem is depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals. Yes, the resources got depleted or exhausted. Why? Because some people have used the resources in such a way that they have depleted it. Due to their overuse, some resources got depleted or exhausted. Now, the resources which have been overused, these resources got overused because of greed. People had money, or people have money, and for that reason they think this way that we have money, so we can use the resources as much as we want. But it is not so. Resources are limited in stock, and you have to think about others as well, isn't it? So you should use that much resource or resources which is needed by you. But there are some people who are very greedy and who have used resources in such a way that it led to depletion of resources. Okay, now move to the second point. Accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, haves and have-nots, or rich and poor. Yes, money is not equally distributed, isn't it? There are some people who have a lot of money, they are called rich, and there are some people who do not have that much money and they are called poor. Now the society has got divided into two segments, rich and poor, or haves and have-nots. The resources of a particular society got accumulated in few hands, particularly in the hands of the rich people. Okay, so the rich people have used the resources, or they are using the resources in such a way that the resources are depleting, or they have depleted. There are some resources that have got depleted, and there are some resources which are gradually depleting. Okay, now move on to the next point. See the next point. Indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crises such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. So there are some resources which have been exploited to such an extent that those resources have got depleted. I have already told you this. But their indiscriminate exploitation has led to some other impacts or other negative effects, such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environment pollution, and land degradation. Okay, next, an equitable distribution of resources has become essential for a sustained quality of life and global peace. If the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, the future of our planet is in danger. Yes, equitable distribution of resource is required. Why? Because equitable distribution of resource will lead to a sustained quality of life and global peace. If the resources are equally distributed among the haves and have-nots, among the rich countries and poor countries, then a global peace and balance would be achieved. If the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, then the future of our planet is in danger and we should take care of it. Therefore, resource planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. So, we have to plan. Or resource planning is essential. That means we have to plan how we would use the resources. Resource planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Now, what is this sustainable existence? Sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. First, let us know what is meant by sustainable development. Sustainable development or sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of the future generation. So, sustainable development means utilizing the resources in such a way that no damage is done to the environment, and also the needs of the present generation is met, and along with that the needs of the future generation is also taken care of. So, sustainable economic development means development that should be done in such a way without damaging the environment, and it should also keep this in mind that the present needs or the needs of the present generation is met, and along with that, the needs of the future generation is also taken care of. Okay, sustainable existence is thus a component of sustainable development. It is the natural outcome of sustainable development. When we conserve resources with the help of sustainable development, it helps in securing comfortable existence of the future generation, and thus we can say that yes, sustainable existence has been achieved. Now let us discuss about Rio de Janeiro Art Summit of 1992. In June 1992, more than 100 heads of states met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Art Summit. The summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. The assembled leaders signed the Declaration on Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity. The Rio Convention endorsed the Global Forest Principles and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. So, in June 1992, more than 100 nations met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Art Summit. Now, what this art summit was all about? The summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environment protection and socio-economic development at the global level. So, this meeting was conducted in order to discuss some urgent problems regarding environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. The assembled leaders signed the Declaration on Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity. So these are the important issues that they had taken up in the Art Summit. They here refers to the assembled leaders. The assembled leaders, the leaders who had assembled, they signed a declaration on global climate change and biological diversity. These two issues were the most important issues which were discussed and which were taken up for discussion, and the leaders had signed a declaration on global climate change and biological diversity. The Rio Convention endorsed the Global Forest Principles and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. So in the meeting, Global Forest Principles were also adopted, okay, and Agenda 21 was also adopted, and this agenda was adopted to achieve sustainable development in the 21st century. Okay, so in 1992, more than 100 nations met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Art Summit. The Art Summit was held in order to discuss some urgent problems of the environment, such as environmental protection, and to discuss socio-economic development at the global level. The leaders had also signed a declaration on global climatic change and biological diversity, and global forest principles were also adopted by the countries, and they had also adopted Agenda 21, and according to Agenda 21, the countries vowed to achieve sustainable development in the 21st century. You can clearly see that Agenda 21 has been discussed in the book. It has been given in detail. It is the declaration signed by world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED. You can underline the full form of UNCED. This took place at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It aims at achieving global sustainable development. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interests, mutual needs, and shared responsibilities. One major objective of Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. Okay, so as I have told you that Agenda 21 was signed by world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. This conference took place at Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. The main aim of Agenda 21 was to achieve global sustainable development. They wanted to achieve sustainable development globally, and the agenda was also prepared, or the countries who signed the declaration, they also vowed to bring certain environmental changes. They also vowed to fight the environmental damages that different nations had done earlier, and they also thought of alleviating poverty. They also thought of fighting against the diseases through global cooperation and on common interest and mutual needs and shared responsibility. So all the countries, they together wanted to help each other so that they could eradicate poverty, diseases, and they could also improve environmental damages. They could also improve the quality of the environment, and they wanted to do this through mutual support and shared interest. One major objective of Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. So it was told to all the governments or all the nations who participated in the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. All of them were told to develop their own local Agenda 21 that would suit their own country. Move to the next page. The next point is resource planning. Planning is the widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. It has importance in a country like India, which has enormous diversity in the availability of resources. There are regions which are rich in certain types of resources but are deficient in some other resources. There are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of the availability of resources, and there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. For example, the states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in minerals and coal deposits. Arunachal Pradesh has abundance of water resources, but it lacks in infrastructural development. The state of Rajasthan is very well endowed with solar and wind energy, but lacks in water resources. The cold desert of Ladakh is relatively isolated from the rest of the country. It has very rich cultural heritage, but it is deficient in water, infrastructure, and some vital minerals. This calls for balanced resource planning at the national level, state level, regional level, and local levels. Planning is very important. Why? Because resources are limited in stock, and if we overuse resources, then we know this, that resources get finished off. The resources get exhausted if we overuse them. So planning is very important for judicious use of resources. If we want to use the resources in a proper way, then we have to plan how to use the resources. Now, resource planning is very important, particularly for a country like India, which has enormous variations in the availability of resources. Different regions of India have different types of resources. However, there are variations in the availability of different types of resources among the different regions of India. Some examples have been given over here. There are regions which are rich in certain types of resources but are deficient in some other resources. There are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of availability of resources, and there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. So it has been said over here that there are some regions which are rich in certain types of resources, and those regions can be considered self-sufficient in terms of those resources. On the other hand, there are some regions which do not have those resources, and those regions have acute shortage of those vital resources. Examples: the states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in minerals and coal deposits. Okay. Arunachal Pradesh has abundance of water resources but lacks in infrastructural development. The state of Rajasthan is very well endowed with solar and wind energy but lacks in water resources. The cold desert of Ladakh is relatively isolated from the rest of the country. It has very rich cultural heritage, but it is deficient in water, infrastructure and some vital minerals. So you can see that there are some states which are rich in minerals and coal depots such as Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh. Okay. Then there are some states which have abundance of water resources. An example over here is Arunachal Pradesh. Rajasthan, on the other hand, is well endowed with solar and wind energy. So solar and wind energy, these two energies are present in Rajasthan in abundance, but Rajasthan lacks in water resources. So can you see the difference? Arunachal Pradesh has got lot of water. Okay, it has abundance of water resources. On the other hand, Rajasthan, which is a state present in India, do not have water resources, or it lacks in water resources. There are water resources but they are less in number. Okay. Next, cold desert of Ladakh is relatively isolated from the rest of the country. It has very rich cultural heritage, but it is deficient in water, then infrastructure and some vital minerals. So this calls for balanced resource planning at all the levels, at national level, state level, regional level and local levels. So at all levels the planning should be done. At all levels resource planning should be done so that resources get distributed equally among all the regions of the country. Next is resource planning in India. So this is the next point. See, resource planning is a complex process which involves identification and inventory of resources across the regions of the country. This involves surveying, mapping and qualitative and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources. 2. Evolving a planning structure endowed with appropriate technology, skill and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans. 3. Matching the resource development plans with overall national development plans. So here it has been said that resource planning in India is a complex process, and this planning includes three different steps. Okay. First step is identification and inventory of resources across the regions of the country. So first step include this thing. In the first step, resources are identified. Okay, they are invented in across the regions of the country. Okay, so they are identified, then they're invented across the regions of the country. Now, how they are identified and invented in different regions of the country? They are done by surveying, then mapping, then qualitative and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources. So what the government, usually the government does all these things. Resource planning is done by the government only. So the government identifies and invents resources across the regions of the country by surveying, by conducting survey, then mapping those areas, then through qualitative and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources. So they try to invent resources in different regions of the country by surveying, mapping, and through quantitative and qualitative estimation. Next step, evolving a planning structure endowed with appropriate technology, skill, and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans. In the next step, in step number 2, the government forms or develops a planning structure which contains appropriate technology, skill, and institutional setup for implementing the resource development plans. So in the first step, the government identifies and invents the resources. In the second step, the government develops some planning structure which contains proper or appropriate technology, skills, and institutional setup, and this planning structure is developed in order to implement the resource development plans. Okay, and in the third step, the government matches the resource development plans with overall national development plans. Move to the next paragraph. India has made concerted efforts for achieving the goals of resource planning right from the first 5-year plan launched after independence. So it has been said over here that Government of India has made a lot of efforts for achieving the goals of resource planning. Now resource planning has got some goals, okay, and India has made efforts in order to achieve those goals, and these efforts have been made by the government of India right from the first 5-year plan which was launched just after the independence. Next, the availability of resources is a necessary condition for development of any region. But mere availability of resources in the absence of corresponding changes in technology and institutions may hinder development. So, see, the main thing over here is that both of these two things is necessary for development of resources. First one is availability of resources, and second one is technology and institutions. Okay, so in order to develop resources, not only the availability of resources is important, but availability of technology and institutions is also important. Okay, there are many regions in our country that are rich in resources, but these are included economically backward regions. So here it has been said that there are many regions in our country that are rich in resources, but these are included in economically backward regions. On the contrary, there are some regions which have a poor resource base, but they are economically developed. Now the question is, why? Those regions which have resources, which are rich in resources, but are included in economically backward regions, remember this, that those regions do not have technology or institution, and for that reason only the resources could not be developed in those regions. Okay, therefore they have been included, those regions have been included in economically backward regions. On the contrary, there are some regions which have a poor resource base, but they are economically developed only because they have proper technology and they also have proper institutional setup. Okay, I hope you have understood this. So from this only you can understand that for resource development, availability of resources, availability of technology, availability of institutional setup, all these things are important. Okay, next, the history of colonization reveals that rich resources in colonies were the main attractions for the foreign invaders. It was primarily the higher level of technological development of the colonizing countries that helped them to exploit resources of other regions and establish their supremacy over the colonies. Therefore, resources can contribute to development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technological development and institutional changes. India has experienced all this in different phases of colonization. I hope you remember this. Colonization. What is colonization? The rich countries, particularly the Western countries, during 80s, they started colonizing different poor or developing or underdeveloped countries. An example over here is Britain. Okay, in Europe, industrial revolution started back in 80s, and since industrial revolution started over there, technological development took place and institutional setup was also done in Europe. Okay, now many countries of Europe, they had this technological development, they experienced technological development, they set up institutions for resource development, but they were lacking in the availability of resources. Okay, so they lacked in the availability of resources. Now, in order to get the resources, they tried to develop their supremacy over the underdeveloped or developing countries or the poor countries. Now, these poor countries, the countries of Asia and Africa, these countries used to be rich in resources. Okay, these countries used to be the storehouse of the resources, of different resources. So the different European countries, they tried to establish their supremacy over these poor countries in order to gain resources from them, because these countries, these rich developed countries, they established their institutions, they also established or developed technologies for developing their resources, for developing different resources, but they were lacking resources. Okay, the main thing, the resource that they wanted to develop, for which they had developed technology and institution, that main thing was not there in their country. Okay, the resources were not there in their countries. They had everything, they had technology, they had institutional setup, they had all these things. Okay, but they were lacking in the main thing, and that thing was the availability of resources. Okay, so in order to obtain the resources, they tried to establish their supremacy. Okay, So in this way, Britain came to India. Okay, India, I hope you know this, that it has a lot of resources. It is a country which has vast reserves of resources. Okay, Britain chose India and established its supremacy over here. Okay, now the history of colonization reveals that rich resources in colonies were the main attraction for the foreign invaders. Now the colonies, as I told you, used to have rich resources. Okay, the colonies used to be rich in resources, and this thing were the main attractions for the foreign invaders. So these things, okay, the availability of different resources, these resources were the main attractions for the foreign invaders. It was primarily the higher level of technological development of colonizing countries that helped them to explore resources of other regions and establish their supremacy over the colonies. So, as I told you, that the rich countries, the developed countries, they had everything. They had technology, they had institutions, they had everything, but they were lacking in availability of different resources. So they had to obtain resources from somewhere, right? So they tried to obtain these resources from the colonies, from their colonies. Therefore, resources can contribute to development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technological development and institutional changes. So you can see this, that the poor countries had resources, but they were considered economically backward countries. Why? They had resources, but they were not having technology and institutional setup. The rich countries or the developed countries, they were having this technological setup, institutional setup. They also had different technologies, but they were not having resources. They were able to obtain those resources from the different colonies, from their different colonies, only because they had all these things, technology, institutions, etc. Okay, so these countries, these developed countries, were called economically developed country or economically developed regions. Therefore, in India, development in general and resource development in particular does not involve the availability of resources, but also the technology, quality of human resources, and the historical experiences of the people. So in India, development in general and resource development in particular does not only involve availability of resources, but it also involves the availability of technology, then quality of human resources, and the historical experiences of the people.